man, you think you can help me out? Kind of get on your page, on your level, because I see how I'm moving, and I ain't really moving the way I want to be moving. I got these kids, I got my girl. I kind of want to move different.
Peace, and blessings. What's good? This is your boy Seven Inglewood's on right now in your zone, and this is a little bit of 7 cents, a little bit of perspective from your boy Seven's point of view. This is just a channel that I'm starting out to kind of air out grievances and to kind of not just to air out grievances, but to also get to the bottom of some things. Sometimes I just kind of need to expel or exercise some demons, I guess you could say, and to kind of get some thoughts and ideas out of my head and kind of, place them away and get them out into the ether and out of me. So that way I can move along and move better throughout my day. Hopefully some of this information is some things that you and people like you have encountered or have somehow dealt with on your own, and you can relate. A lot of things I will be speaking on today and here going forward will be of and inclusive of man shit, or things that are related to manhood in some sort of way, and just kind of looking at things from a man's perspective. I'm not saying I have all the answers. I'm not saying that I have the best perspective. I'm not saying anything like that, but I'm just saying these are some lessons and some things that I've kind of come across in my maturation process to get to this point. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. And the first thing up we have to discuss is, what do you do when a man owes you? What do you do? What indeed do you do? I'm hoping other people can kind of tell me what is it that you do when another person owes you. They owe you some money, some time, service, product, something like that. When somebody owes you something, and let's just say it's somebody maybe even a relative, business partner, friend, something like that. So if it's either of those things, what do you do when you've loaned somebody something or given them something with the promise that they would return that thing? What do you do when they renege on the promise that they have made to you about the thing that they say they're going to do? What do you do? That's really where I am now. Of course, I don't mean so much in the legal sense. Of course, there are legal channels available. You can take people to court, small claims. I'm sure there's a TV show available with somebody got some sort of court system set up where you can go in and say whatever you got to say about whoever this person is and why you feel like they've wronged you and how you need to be seeking some sort of retribution. So I know those channels are available, but I mean internally, what do you do? Because I personally, when a friend, when a family member, when a business partner, whoever, when I even engage with them, I'm engaging in good faith, and I engage with the hopes that they are as well. So I'm just thinking like, okay, if that's not what they're looking to do, then that kind of changes what the initial dynamic was, or what I thought was the initial agreement when we first got things set up, So that's what I mean. Like, what do you do with those internal thoughts and feelings? Do you just brush it off like, that's it, man? And, all right, screw it. You got to take them to court and just leave it at that. And whatever happens, happens. Because after that, after the court case is closed, after the gavel comes down, feelings still are there. You still got to deal with the person. If they are a business partner, you don't just, everything isn't just automatically dissolved. If you're friends, there's years of history you guys have together, so you just like throw it up in the air and say screw it. Or if this is a relative, even with that, there's even a closer familial bonds. There's family reunions and there's family get-togethers and all that stuff that still take place. So like, what do you do when you're looking to get get beyond that stuff, or you have those sorts of parameters in that space. That's what I'm trying to get to the bottom of. And I'm not saying I have the answers to it. I wish I could say that. Come in, your boy 7, I got the answers. Holla at me. But no, but what I'm saying is I don't know what it is that we're supposed to be doing because, well, I'll just give it to you. Here's my situation. So some months back, a relative, I'll just say that, a relative hit me up, and they were, and I'll just say it's a man, sure. So that we don't have to do the wrong pronouns. I don't want to mispronounce anybody. I don't want to mispronounce anybody. But yeah. So I have a relative who encountered some absolute calamity, real calamity, real life hit him fast and hard. So real life came through. And put them in this position that they were feeling like, okay, man, I'm leaking now. I'm in need. I suddenly am to a position where I'm like, man, I got to reach out to somebody to get some sort of something, So, and with that, I'm sure there's a level of courage that needs to be built up to even get to the point where you're going to say something to somebody else about it. Because honestly, I know a lot of men. A lot of men grow up. No, a lot of men. That sounds weird. But if a lot of men are like the ones I know, what you'll get is a report after the situation is done. Like for me, and maybe this is what it takes. For me, I have kind of my mentors, older men that I still reach out to from time to time, some who are, just a few years older than me, some who are, old enough to be my parents, but I have, different levels of men who I can reach out to, and even some men who are younger than me. Now I think about it, sorry. But there are different levels of men that I will reach out to for different situations and circumstances to kind of get their input on the situation, to get a feel for what my next step should be, So for me, I have my brother, and I think he's my number one person that I reach out to for anything that's going on with me, financially, emotionally, relationship wise, socially, all of that stuff. He knows just about everything that's going on with me, or has a very good idea of it if he doesn't know. So and maybe that's what's going on with this relative, because this relative doesn't really have that, at least not to the extent that that I think he would utilize it, if that makes sense. So my brother, anytime he's going through a thing, like, again, he's older than me. When he's going through a thing, he'll go through the thing and then he'll tell me about it weeks after the fact, or even days after, but he'll tell me about it after the fact, most of the time. Every now and then I hear about something as he's going through it, but generally I don't hear about what happened to him until well after the fact, So with this relative of mine, I don't know if that's how he moves or how he looks at things, but I just know that most of the guys I know, that's kind of how they move. So when you're kind of going through it, it takes a bit to get to that point to say, hey, I'm in need. I need something, and I need it from you. So I get that. I get that. So calamity strikes this relative, and now they're trying to build up the courage to ask. They finally get up the courage, and then they say, hey, can you help me out? But it's not just a whole thing of, can you help me out? Of course, they explain the situation and all that stuff. But then there's like, but wait, there's more. There's always that sort of activity that takes place, because it's not just the thing, it's the thing that they need. Plus, here's all the promises, all the flighty and lofty promises that come and they sound flowery and beautiful. So from this relative, there was that thought. I'm sorry, that idea of them searching for guidance. Again, this is, like I said, this is a channel where we're talking about man stuff from a man's perspective, basically. And when I'm looking at stuff, I guess when he was looking at, how I've kind of moved versus how he's been moving, he can notice the difference. He can see the difference. So from him, first thing I get is,
man, you think you can help me out? Kind of get on your page, on your level, because I see how I'm moving, and I ain't really moving the way I want to be moving. I got these kids, I got my girl. I kind of want to move different.
So I'm like, okay, so there's the statement of the thing that's needed, the money, the statement of the money that's needed, and then on top of that, then it's not just that, it's also flowery statements, and I see how you've been moving, and you move so well. How do you move like that? And oh wow, you're so good. And I'm just thinking, like, for me, I'm not the person who, I don't respond well to fake and empty ego inflation. I just don't. I don't respond well to that sort of stuff. So for me, when I got that, I'm already kind of looking at things like, you don't have to do this. You don't have to gas me up at all. You ain't gotta do none of that stuff just to kind of get this from me, because we're relatives. So we're relatives. I trust you to a certain degree. So what you're saying is a genuine situation, a genuine occurrence that took place. So yeah, let me go ahead and help you out, because I know I would want that with, if I were in that situation. I try to put myself in people's shoes, just to make sure that, what I'm doing kind of fits the scenario, if it makes sense. But anyway, so like I said, so there's this ego inflation thing that he was doing, that seemed more so for him than me, because again, I don't need that. I don't need that. And when it comes, I don't even respond well to it, because I'm always wondering, or waiting for the other shoe to drop, or sitting there wondering, where is this coming from and what is this for? So ultimately it seemed like he was seeking empathy, right? So he was in his bad state, in his position, needing some things, needing some bread, reaching out to me. And part of me is feeling like, okay, well, maybe I need to treat this man with kid gloves, because I do know his situation. I do know that he didn't have a father growing up like I did. Not that it matters at this point, because I'm like, well, you well beyond 35, but still, this is somebody who grew up without a father. He's generally the oldest of his immediate relatives. So, everybody of his siblings, he's the oldest. Of his cousins, even, he's the oldest. So I can kind of see. So he was like the first grandchild, of that generation of adults who are above him, the aunts and uncles and all that. A lot of them aren't really that good with money, so it wouldn't be the best for him to reach out to them to get any sort of financial comeuppance in any sort of way. So, or who knows? Maybe they do have it, because I'm not going to sit there and act like I know everybody's financial situation. But I just know from what I've seen and kind of some of the stories I know, some of these people, or a lot of these people, aren't nearly as financially sound as they'd like to be. So, like I said, so with all of that stuff, I gave him a lot of leeway, right? And I'm just wondering, again, what is all of this for? Like, to what end is this being done? Is it being done just so he can have no accountability at the end of the day? That's kind of honestly, that's kind of how it seems, because anyway, we'll keep going. So Day finally comes up when he needs the bread. I say, okay, cool. Let me go ahead and give you this bread. Loan him a little bit. Give him a couple dollars. Okay. First thing I start talking about is, okay, well, and now this is my fault, and I'll absolutely take accountability for this, because what is manhood without accountability? It ain't manhood. but I'll take accountability to the point that I should have established and set up terms well before any sort of money was exchanged. But I'm thinking this is a relative won't do me wrong, especially not this one, because we're kind of close. It won't be like that, right? At least that's what I'm thinking. And so, but so again, the money, I believe, had already been exchanged, if I'm not mistaken, already received it. And at that time, I'm waiting for or expecting some sort of communication to let me know this is how it's going to come back to you. You'll get this amount whenever, or you get the lump sum whenever, something like that. I would think that I'm going to get something along those lines, right? I did not receive anything, right? So then I don't know, maybe a few. I think it was it was probably the same day. It was the same day. So I'm sorry getting ahead of myself. So it was the same day, reaching out to him. What are we talking about? Then he finally says it's going to be a certain time in the future. Okay, cool. Now, I'm not the type of person who likes to harp on people for a day they set for a thing. That's just never been my style. It's never been me. I figure this is what you said. This is the responsibility that you've put on yourself to do. So I'm hoping that you will hold yourself responsible enough to do the thing that you said you're going to freaking do. Like, to me, it doesn't take a whole lot. It doesn't take a whole lot more than that. He set the terms, and I say, okay, that's it. Cool. Go on about my business. There was like some other things that were needed now. And I was, again, there was the whole thing of, man, if you could help me to get my man shit together, man, I really appreciate it, man. I'm just trying to get my shit together and all that. At the same time, I could see that he was panicking, basically because, again, this is a whole thing that took place to him. His girl wasn't in town at the time when it happened, so he really feels like he's kind of out here and on his own. Cried with me a couple times on the phone, just to get it out. And I'm not trying to put him out there like that, but it happened. Man, we cried. It happens. We ain't freaking made a steal. So, and that's fine. But yes, so it goes through the whole thing. And to me, it's like stuff is already starting to sound weird, because I'm feeling like his priorities are misaligned, so because now I get it, we as men, we will do a lot of things and try to purport ourselves a certain way or try to look a certain way, however, until we get to the point that we can actually do the thing that we said that we will, until we can actually be the thing that we said that we was already. You know what I'm saying? So we'll do that whole thing a lot of times. But it just seems weird when I see a dude in his late 30s, kind of doing this thing. And, I'm just like, man, I thought we were beyond that already. I thought we did this already. I thought we was already here. That's how we got here. That's why we have all the other stuff. But now it starts sounding like cart before the horse type stuff. And then on top of that, there was like other things that he needed this money for, that, again, this is all part of this flowery discussion of what he's going to do and when and how and all that within the terms, right? Well, after the terms, but before any sort of real communication after that were to take place. So, still had, he needed the money, of course, for rent. Gotta have housing, gotta have a place to live, has teenage children, graduation is coming up. I understand that. But then there was like traveling that was happening. And I'm like, wait, where you're flying places? Where are you flying? You flying to the East Coast? What are you flying to the East Coast for? We in the Midwest. What are you flying to the East Coast for? You know, so there's that's happening. And I get it, because this relative also is they travel for work sometimes on a part-time basis. But I don't think the part-time travel people pay for his actual travel. I think that's what he does. He does his thing when he gets there, gets his money, and then that kind of recoups the money that was spent on the travel to get there. I believe that's how that goes. So I don't know. To me, I'm seeing this and I'm just thinking, well, maybe this is just more of a, because, you know, people like to post their lives and all this stuff that they're doing on social media. So I'm seeing all this stuff on social media and I'm like, wow, this is where you're putting everything. This is where you're showing what you're doing. And what I'm seeing that you're doing is you still moving around like ain't nothing happened. Well, that's cool, because that's kind of what I hoped was to happen. I don't want him to fall and, you know, all of a sudden be destitute. But at the same time, I'm like, dude. Anyway, sorry. But like I said, so things started to seem like they were unraveling. He's traveling. He's moving around. He starts bringing up the deaths of people who ain't even related to him. Like that, like it has an effect on him or something like that. And I get it, you know. Sure, I have friends and stuff, but this is like not even a friend. This is like the nephew of a friend. You know what I'm saying? The sister's a friend's nephew's sister's uncle. You know what I'm saying? Like something like that. Some stuff like that. And that would be part of the conversation. And when talking about or discussing the terms and where this money is going and when this money is coming back. And it was just weird. So I'm like, okay, wow. Is this did I just throw my bread into a dark hole? You know what I'm saying? Is this money? Is he a money pit? You know? So then we get to a point where it's like days after, right? So days after, I reach out, send a text. Now, at the same time, and I will say that this was maybe like a couple of days after, maybe the day of. I think it was days after though. You know, what's the plan? Now, I should have been more, and that was actually what I sent verbatim. What's the plan? Now, I should have been more direct in what I was talking about, because I was actually talking about, like, you talking about this manhood thing. I wouldn't be expect you to have, you know, the money ready to be repaid within days of, you know, this everything happening. Now, it would be great, but I know you ain't moving like that. So what's the plan for your manhood shit? Like, you said this was so important. This was something that you was really trying to do to get your shit together. Like, that's what you said. You said that, you know. So what do we do? What are we doing? How are we doing that? Right? And then I started realizing that, like, every conversation that we were supposed to have suddenly wasn't happening. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, it's all starting to click now for me that, okay, he was just appearing to be genuine. You know, he's admitting to, you know, his fear and all that based on the stuff that took place and happened to him, and I get that. But none of that is really talking to the actual situation, and the actual situation is him and how he deals with things, right? And for me, that's what I'm thinking we need to get to the bottom of in terms of you doing your man shit and trying to get your freaking life together, however you say you want to do, right? And, you know, so it was just, I don't know, it played out really poorly in those days following the loan, right? So I give him the loan, have a few conversations here and there in those first couple of days. A couple of days after that, it was like everything was just fluff after that. It's like he was just attempting to sound or to appear to be credit worthy, but I didn't find much credit worthiness in that, to be quite honest. Like, if I had these conversations, again, this is on me, but had I had these conversations beforehand, I don't think he would have gotten as much as he got. He probably would have still gotten something, but probably not as much as he received, you know. Anyway, so now we get to a point where it's weeks, months afterwards, right? Matter of fact, the day that the money was due had passed, come and gone. Nothing, no call, no show, nothing. Homie did nothing. I got nothing. No, I got nothing. So I'm like, all right. And like, dude was just pulling a ghost move over me, right? So the ghost move entailed of unread inboxes, right? Like we had maybe a few phone calls here and there, but when I'd call, I'd leave a leave a voicemail or whatever. I don't know if he responded to that, but then I'd call him, leave a voicemail, then get a text back. Oh, hey, somebody died. That got this going on, or so there's always some goofy story, and then so obviously getting his shit together never happened, right? Suddenly he was like unavailable and just so busy. So hey, that's a good thing, right? That should be a good thing. It should be a good thing because he should be, working to get me my money back. Because the date that you said that you were gonna hold yourself accountable to has passed. And now that day has passed, well, what you gonna do, sir? You know what I'm saying? What are we talking about here? What are we talking about? When are we gonna actually do the man shit that you say you're gonna do that would show that you're kind of getting on track to get your shit together? Like when does that start? At what point does that start? And for me, at what point do I stop looking for it? That's the bad part. To me, that's the worst part about all of this. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, like I said, dude was suddenly unavailable. Didn't have a whole lot that was popping up on social media. And when I would inbox him on social media, matter of fact, I can show you right now, those inboxes are still unread. And it's been over a month since last time I reached out to him. This is a person who lived on social media. Like, even though they did their jobs, they were absent, just completely gone from social media. Now, I wonder if that's because they know that I'm around, and every time I would see something on social media, well, I would respond. Not respond in a way to be like, hey, where's my money? But just respond and say, hey, this is funny, or hey, I feel the same way, or whatever, just to have a normal discourse, because I didn't feel like it was necessary to treat this man any differently just because all of a sudden there was a debt that was owed. At least that's the way that I'm thinking, because I try to have empathy, because I wouldn't want somebody who I owe money to, especially if it's a relative, to shun me in some kind of way just because I owed them some bread. That's kind of the way I looked at it. As a matter of fact, we even have a group in one of our social medias where it's me, him, and a bunch of other relatives, and we all talk. He started this group, right? He started it. Do you know, ever since he's been owing me this money, he has not interacted with this group at all. Now, I don't know if he may have set up another group and brought them into the other group and talked to them on the fringe or whatever, or in that realm. But I know in the one where I'm invited, the one that I'm a part of, he doesn't interact at all. I could scroll back to the last month because it shows everyone's activity. I could scroll back to the last month where he was active, and it was around the time when that money was due. So again, I don't, and this is all without this. All this is him. I should say, all this is taking place without me, just beating him upside the head. Where's my money? Where's my money? I'm not being like, full force and crush groove talking about this is gonna happen every day till JT gets his money. There's none of that that's going on with me. I hadn't done any of that. You know what I'm saying? It just, but what it's turned into is this absolute avoidance of your boy. And your boy Seven don't feel good when it comes to stuff like that. It makes my feel bad hurt. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. I mean, at this point, I'm kind of at a miss. I know I'm at a loss. Hell, I'm at a loss for however much I loan to this dude. But I'm also at a miss for words, because I honestly didn't expect this. I didn't anticipate any sort of, like, again, this calamity that took place to him. It wasn't because of malfeasance. So I wasn't expecting malfeasance or bad attitude or bad acting in that sort of sense towards me, in any sort of sense. Like, and again, growing up, we've had our whatever interactions where things weren't exactly on the up and up, and I've spoken to him about that and just said, I think these things about some of the things that you said. Now that we're older, I'm not on that. Are you? We kind of hashed that stuff out, and I thought we were good. I thought we were good. I don't know. Maybe this was. I don't know. I look at this now and I just say, okay. Now that I'm at this point, now that we are now currently. Let's see. This is August. We are 3 months past when the money was due. 3 months past when it was due. And I still haven't heard one peep. I mean, there were some promises back when we were still communicating. I think the last thing that was said was something along the lines of, I would rather give it all to you in one lump sum the way you gave it to me, versus trying to piecemeal it out to you. But he said, if I have to give you $100 a week until it's all paid off, that's what I'll do. And I said, okay, cool. Starting when? Do you know that starting when never got read? It never got read. That was honestly the last time we spoke. That was it. That was it. It ended right there. So I don't know. So now I'm left with this. It's almost like he came. Let me not say that. I allowed him to come in. That's me taking my responsibility for my part in this. I allowed this man to come in and basically offer me a smokescreen smokescreen story so he could shit all over the place, and then he hightailed the hell out of there. That's basically all I can say. Like, he came in, smokescreen his way in, dropped this shit and ran, and now here I am processing this shit. So I'm at a point where I'm disappointed. I'm just disappointed in this relative, to be quite honest. I'm absolutely distraught at the fact that this is how somebody who's related to me would treat me. I mean, I don't think anybody would expect anything like that, least of all from a relative. Like, maybe, I mean, you would hope that a friend wouldn't, you would hope that a business partner wouldn't, you would hope that a colleague or what have you wouldn't. But I really, and this is part of my weird thinking when it comes to relatives and money. So that's just my problem. But like I said, I brought this all onto myself, and that's the kind of the way I feel about it. But I will say I've learned a couple of lessons. These are the lessons that I would say I have learned as a result of this, financial malfeasance, I guess is the best way you can explain it. And the first thing I can say is, one, you are not a bank, right? So to that end, never lend out what you're not willing to lose, especially when you're dealing with family. Because some family will treat you or act like, well, you got it. Why you already got it. Why you worried about this little bit, this little funky money? Why you worried about this funky money? You already got it. You good. It's not about that though. It's not. It's really not about that. It's about the fact that you've said this is. It's like we've gone into a business agreement with one another, and you've set a standard for how business should be run, and or we've agreed to how business should be run. And as soon as you get a little bit of power, you've shown that you had no you had no thoughts or no inclination to abide by the agreement that we both set into play. So that so and to that end, that's what helped me realize, well, hell, I ain't in the bank any damn way. I mean, I'm not a loan shark. Funny story, my father actually was a loan shark, so that was interesting. He was an old man walking around the city with a big dog, and if somebody didn't want to pay him back, he had that big dog. So but that's what it comes down to. So it's like, again, I'm not gonna have full force out chasing people down to collect money for me. I'm not about to have get my dog to go attack this man just so I can get my bread back. I'm not gonna go and threaten this person at gunpoint to get the nothing that they ain't got. I'm not gonna do that. But I will say it doesn't feel good when I do look on social media, the very few times that this person does decide to chime in. I'm not chime in, but decides to post something. Because nowadays it's like he'll post something and then he had run out of it. Like I said, he used to be on social media a lot, so there'd be a lot of interaction. He'd make a post, other people would respond, he respond in kind, and back and forth as our conversations go. But what I've realized recently is that he'll just make a post and then get the hell out of there. He'll never come back to it. Not at all. So again, it's just, that again, that's just his activity, and that's it's disheartening to see. It's disheartening to see and watch, because this is somebody who was supposed to be your relative, especially if it's somebody you grew up with. I understand if this is like a long lost cousin or auntie or uncle or somebody that I hadn't talked to in ever, and all of a sudden we meet each other in our 30s. Then it's like, well, you don't really know this person, but this is somebody I grew up with. So I'm just, it baffles me that this is the activity that I have to kind of deal with. But like I said, I am not a bank. And to that end, I can't ruin this person's credit, send them to collections. Best thing I can do is take them to small claims court, and I kind of talked about that. So maybe you'll see me on Star Jones or Steve Harvey's court shows. Does Steve Harvey still got a court show? I don't know. But either way, maybe you'll see me on somebody's show suing them for that. But I don't know. Other than that, there's no other real retaliation, I guess you could say, I can aim at them, other than to not talk to him again, I guess. I don't know. And that's the weird thing, because this whole time I've been reaching out. I've been reaching out to this person and saying, hey, what's happening? What's going on? How are you doing? Nothing. I'm getting no response to anything. And that's just, it's sad. Next thing I could say I learned is keep yourself secured. And that is, you obviously can't tell the future, but you can take a look and assess where you are currently, and you can do an evaluation of what potentially could be some things that could occur in your life, calamity wise, and say, okay, well, I need to have enough bread saved up, not money that you're dipping and dabbling into, but money saved up that you can say, well, this is money that I'm going to have to the side, so that way I can take care of X, Y, and Z. In the case of, you hope it never happens, but it's just insurance. It's just an insurance buffer, and it just seems weird to me that a dude in his 30s didn't have any money saved up for calamities. For when disaster strikes, and then it's I was talking with another relative, and she said basically, to kind of take an assessment of how someone feels when they owe you. So like I said, I try to be empathetic. I aim to be empathetic. I won't even say I try. I aim to be empathetic, even more so to the point, or even to the point where, I'm 100% 10 toes down in your shoes. And so that's when I can say, okay, I understand. No father. You're the oldest in of your immediate relatives. A lot of things I can look at and see and be like, okay, I understand what this is, and looking at things from his perspective, I can say, okay, I kind of understand what you're going through, which is why, again, I'm not trying to treat this person any differently or weird just because they owe some bread. But unfortunately, bread never came, so but some of the feelings I could say that he's probably going through, or, afraid to show that he was even in need, embarrassed that he's unable to pay the money back in time, probably embarrassed at the fact that he needed to borrow it in the first place. But it's like, what this also does, though, is the increase of conversation that took place when there wasn't one before had me initially kind of on edge, because I'm like, okay, well, I get it, things have changed, but we hadn't been talking like that, but now here we are talking 2-3 times a day sometimes, and that was all before the money got there, right? Then after the money, there was no conversation. But it's like, now I can see you. Now I really see you. Now I really see who you are. And I don't know if this is what you want me to see of you. Or if it is, then that speaks a little bit more to who this person is or what they aren't in my mind and in my life, So I kind of got that from one of my relatives, and who try to help me put things into perspective. Then I'm sitting here feeling like, man, is it true that family burns you worse than strangers will? Is that true? You know what I'm saying? Because that's kind of how I'm left feeling. Like I don't have that. Like, now this is a person that I would reach out to for X, Y, and Z. Now I don't have that outlet. Now I don't have that anymore. Not that I needed this person for that, but that was something that we shared. Now it's like, okay, now things are awkward. Is that the goal? Now I get it. I shouldn't expect me from other people, because that's not how men are supposed to be moving anyway. Like, you take a man as he is. But I don't know. To me, there's just a certain amount of responsibility, accountability, and respect that just goes into being a man. I respect another man as much as I respect myself. So I'm not going to talk crazy to the next man, especially if I don't know him, because I wouldn't want somebody to do that to me. I'm not going to mishandle another man's time, because I wouldn't want, especially somebody I don't know, because I wouldn't want somebody who doesn't know me to mishandle my time. So those sort of things. I don't just play with people I don't know, because I wouldn't want somebody who doesn't know me to play with me. Like that to me makes a whole lot of sense. But I don't know. now that I'm kind of looking at this whole thing, I guess the ultimate thing that I'm kind of left feeling like is, which is kind of sad, but is this, do you all think, and please let me know what you think, but do you all think this is or was the piss off fee? Like, this amount of money that I loaned to this relative is the money that I pay to not have to deal with them ever again. Like, is that what I paid for? Because that's what I'm getting. That's what I'm getting right now. And it's weird. Like, I actually wrote out and I deleted it because, what's the point? It's not like he was looking at my inboxes anyway. But I sent this long message that says something along the lines of, so I guess whenever this money gets paid back, you'll end up acting like it was funky amount of dollars. So now you have an attitude for whatever reason, even though I have and have had no attitude throughout this entire process. Years will go by where you and I are out of communication because you're feeling some kind of way, only for you to be in your 50s, 60s, 70s, I don't know. And then we finally come around and be like, oh, hey, relative, we still cool, to do that, to play that game. Or to be at somebody's funeral. That's even worse. Because, I just had a friend that just passed. And that's still on my mind, heavily. But yeah, so it's like stuff like that, it makes me feel some kind of way. And I don't want that to be the outcome of our interaction. But if that's what it's going to be, so be it. Anyway, that's all I've got. That's all I got today. But just wanted to kind of put that out and see what you guys thought about it. And, get everyone's input, good or bad. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And I don't know. I guess you know what? I'll keep you all updated as far as what's going on, if there's ever any shakeups or any nuance in the whole situation going forward. Because I don't know, at this point, I'm invested in just finding out I'm invested the whole way, because without investment we wouldn't be here. But I'm just saying, I'm invested in finding out what the story is, what sort of humana I'm gonna hear from him to justify this lack of communication, lack of follow through, and lack of handling any of your fucking business. I don't know. But y'all let me know what you think in the comments below. Until next time, I'll holler at you. Peace. And I'm out.